Good evening, everyone. I want to welcome you to our combined meetings for County Services and Finance subcommittees of the Washington County Quorum Court for the month of March, which is somewhat unbelievable to be saying. With that, I believe that Justice Washington has agreed to do us the prayer and pledge this evening. Justice Washington.
Let us pray. Lord, we thank you for bringing us to this quorum court meeting tonight. And as we conduct the business of the county, we seek your presence and your guidance in every decision that we will make. Lord, we thank you for blessing us with clarity of mind and unity of purpose. And we thank you that our decisions are a reflection of your will and they contribute to the well-being of our county and its residents. Lord, thank you for allowing us to listen with open hearts and to speak with honesty and respect as we conduct business. We thank you for the vision to see the needs of our county and to address them. We thank you that our work will bring about positive change and enhance the lives of all the residents of Washington County. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that, Justice Washington. With that, we'll move to the adoption of the agenda. Do I have any changes to the agenda, or I'll entertain a motion to adopt? I have a motion to adopt the agenda by Justice Lyons, a second by Justice Dean. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? The agenda has been adopted. Now on to our monthly reports. First up, we're going to have our Juvenile Detention Center report. Director Tinsley. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Judge. Good evening, Law Enforcement Committee. For the month of February, we had 31 intakes with the average length of stay being 6.42 days. Our average daily population for February was 15.45. The highest number of intakes were battery in the third degree, misdemeanor at 8. Of the 31 intakes from Washington County and Madison County, 13 were from Division 3, and 17 were from Division 8. We had one juvenile from the Interstate Compact. There were 11 total transports, 3 were from the Washington County Sheriff's Office, and 8 were performed by JDC at this time. Are there any questions that I may address tonight?
Questions for Director Tinsley? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Moving on, we'll move to the Sheriff's report. Good evening, Major Denzer. Good evening. One on the right.
Right.
There you
okay. Go. You guys, hopefully you have our report in front of you. The calls of service up a little bit. Our detention intakes is steadily increasing, as you show. We was lucky enough the last month or two to probably send over 100 to ADC, or Arkansas Department of Corrections, and which has helped, but they hadn't took anybody in about 3 weeks. Our number is creeping back up. See, the state prisoners is about 135 now. What we did have, federal's about the same. Pre-trial is down just a little bit, so overall, we're in pretty good shape right now. Still got some sleeping on the floor, but everything's working out.
Questions for Major Denzer? Justice Koger?
Yes, thank you. How many are sleeping on the floor, Major Denzer? Do you know that?
Looks like we got about 101.
Okay. And are there any people in the jail right now with COVID, diagnosed with COVID?
I believe we have 3. Seems like every weekend, we have a lot of folks come through the place and end up with 2 or 3, but really nothing in the back or anything. This is mainly just folks coming in on the PIs and stuff like that.
And do you know where we are on filling positions at the detention center and in enforcement?
I'm not sure on enforcement, I think it's 5 or 6. I think we're down to about 35 or 36. Seems like we hire one or two and then one leaves. So,
Okay. And I see the sheriff is not here. Could you give us an update on the Washington County Jail COVID Mitigation Project Phase 1?
Well, I know it's moving forward. It's my understanding is everything is, it's looking a whole lot better, and we're keeping our fingers crossed that when they get to the point where all the bids come in, everything will be good, but it's in progress.
Do you know if the constructability and value engineering review that was mentioned in a contract that was dated, signed by the judge on December 22nd, has that been completed, the review?
I don't know that.
Okay. Do you know if it's still set to have 230-plus jail beds, or has that been changed?
I don't know that either.
Okay, that's all my questions.
Additional questions for Major Denzer? Thanks, sir.
Yes, sir.
Next up is the treasurer's report. Treasurer Hill?
Buddy. All right, Treasurer Financial Summary 6.1. February is not a great revenue month. If you look at 1,000 general, 2,000 road, and 3017 jail, all of them have expenditures over revenue. But again, that's not unusual for February. And all of the balances continue to be healthy coming into March. End of this particular report, we began the month with $106 million in the bank, ended the month with $102,700,000. 6.2 is the ARPA report. Not a whole lot of activity. February, had a little bit in the HVAC jail software project, a little bit in the EOC engineering, but altogether it was less than $100,000 spent. At the end of February, we had a little over $15 million remaining in the fund. 6.3, the 1 cent sales tax. We brought in $950,000 this month, 2.85% over the same period last year, and this is the December report. So Christmas shopping was up about 3%. 6.4, the quarter cent jail tax, 1.4 million came in. Same increase, 2.85. For the year, it's 4.57. And that's all I have on my short report.
Questions for Treasurer Hill? Justice Coger?
Thank you, Judge. Treasurer Hill, on line item 3526, where we have 1.4 million from Emergency Rental Assistance Fund.
Yes.
Could you explain is that possible? I've been contacted by a church who has a nonprofit, and they would like to come to the county with some proposal on that. Is that still doable, or is that time past?
It's not doable on 3525. 3526, I believe that money's been spoken for.
3526, that's what I meant to say, okay.
Is it Accelerate? I can't remember.
So what about 3525 then? Did you say that again, please?
We're in the process of closing that out.
And how does that work?
It's a good question. The grants, Dr. Russell, she deals with that, and she's in contact with the feds right now.
My understanding is that program is closed. We're just waiting on the instructions of how to return that money.
Is that for both of them then? The
No.
3526?
3526 is the money that's going to upskill when they're ready for it.
Upskill.
It's basically encumbered. We just haven't delivered it to them yet. 3525 is the original first program, which is closed.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had, thank you.
Additional questions for Treasurer Hill? Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Employees Insurance Report. Mr. Angel?
Good evening. It is really nice to see sunlight coming in behind y'all.
Yeah.
I got kind of tired of it being dark all the time. All right, well, I'll jump right into the cash flow here. Our drug claims were at $203,000 in the month of January. Still a little higher than we'd like to see those pharmaceutical claims. Medical claims were pretty much spot on what we're used to at $332,000. Our total cost for the month was $601,993. That's a little hotter than what I'd like to see it, but that was down about 13.5% from December. So we are starting to trend in the right direction. Last January was by far our best month. I don't think this January will be our best month, but again, moving in the right direction, spending 13.5% less than we did in the previous month is a good sign, I believe. If you get back to our total reserves in the insurance account, we're at 2.737 million. Again, a little light from where I'd like to see it. I'd like to see that number over 3 million if we can, but we've been holding steady there, bouncing back and forth between 2.7 and 2.9 for about a year. So I think we're where we need to be. Funding is pretty close, and we have to take into consideration that no RX rebate came in this year, where one did come in last January. So hopefully we'll see a prescription rebate from the PBM next month, and that'll get our cash flow back where we need it.
Questions for Mr. Angel? Thank you, sir. We appreciate you.
Have a wonderful evening.
You too. Comptroller's report. Comptroller Sherman.
I believe the first one there is unappropriated reserves. We haven't had to hit that very hard. There's a couple small ones, and they're basically budget oversight from doing the budgets on 24, so we just had to move some money to establish those budgets, relatively small amounts. And then as far as spending on the summary of statements there, probably should be about 16%, so after 2 months. Nothing out of the ordinary. The ones that are over, there's 100% there, but that's a one-time payment. Some of the 0% are quarterly payments, and they'll be coming up in the next month or so. We did get a federal audit recently back, and there was no discrepancies on how we're handling federal funds, no significant anything. There wasn't even minor deficiencies, so that's a good thing. And then we just finished the 2023 financial report, and I'll probably email that out to each of you, and then I'll be available for questions if you want to discuss that, how the year fell out and where we are financially. Any questions on the reports or the financial situation?
Justice Zeki.
Thank you, Judge. When you said we just had to move just a little bit of money around from here to here to here, what monies and from what accounts?
Oh, if you look down on this report here, so there was the library fund, there was an oversight of like $3,000, and you guys passed an ordinance last month, and that's what that is. So we're just moving money out of the unappropriated reserve to establish the budget. The other one, there was...
I didn't know it was coming out of the unappropriated reserves. That's why I'm asking. Out of the library fund.
What's that?
I said I wasn't aware it was coming out of the unappropriated reserves to the library fund. That was one of my questions, but go right ahead.
Oh, yeah, from my understanding, that comes out of the general fund and then goes to the library fund because it wasn't established in the first place, or it was an oversight on in the budget when the budget was passed last year for 2024. Now, the library fund says, I guess it says unexpected increases, but the other one was a budget oversight. That's the $4,000 in the county clerk operating fund there. Or child support, and this is a pretty small type, child support cost fund. And then the other one down there is the $32,000, and it is the adult drug court fund. And that was a budget oversight too. And those are all ordinances that you guys passed last month, and then
Okay, I
you're just
wasn't
posting
here,
them.
so that was okay.
What's that?
That's all right. I just wanted to make sure that I knew what was going on.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Thank
Okay.
you.
Justice Coger?
Okay, thank you, Judge. Did the federal audit also include the ARPA money? in
I
the au-
believe it did.
It
yes.
did?
Yes.
Okay, when you email us the financials, could you also email us that federal audit?
Yes.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Justice Pond?
Okay, I just have one question, back to that library fund issue. All said and done, real dollars where the money comes from and goes to, do we actually, we don't take and spend any monies on the library. All the monies that the library spends came from the 1 mil tax that pays for library stuff.
That's correct, sir.
Yeah,
So-
that could be. That could just, I'm still learning the system, so.
It was from the unappropriated reserves of the library fund.
It
Yeah.
all comes out of that 1 mil tax, so their expenditures don't affect any of the other stuff at the courthouse.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Additional questions for Comptroller Sherman? Thank you, sir. With that, we're going to move into the new business portion of our meeting. Item number 9 is an ordinance recognizing and appropriating additional revenue in the amount of $9,329.45 in the jail fund for 2024. As the ordinance states, the Washington County Sheriff's Office participates in a rebate program with SWEPCO. They've received this fund as a rebate, and we'd like to accept that money and appropriate it. Justice Lyon?
Make a motion to pass this to full quorum court with the due pass recommendation.
I have a motion to pass to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by Justice Lyons. I heard second by Justice Dean. Are there any further comments or questions about item number 9.1? Any public comments on item number 9.1? Seeing none, I have a motion to pass to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by Justice Lyons, a second by Justice Dean. All those in favor? Those opposed? Item number 9 will move to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation. Item number 10, an ordinance amending the comptroller budget for 2024. I can speak to this, and certainly Comptroller Sherman can come up. If you guys remember, we put some funds into the budget for 2024 for a new position to help his staffing levels. At that time, we didn't have a focused job description or what exactly we were looking for, so we now have created this. We now have this will create the position, the actual job description and everything. Justice Lyons?
Make a motion, we pass this full quorum court with the due pass recommendation.
I have a motion to pass to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by Justice Lyons, second by Justice Dean. Any further discussion or comments on item 10.1? Justice Rios Stafford?
Thank you, Judge. I wanted to thank, I think it was Justice Lyons who requested the justification letters for all of these. I saw they came in today. Unfortunately, haven't had a chance to read any of them yet, but I look forward to reading them between now and our full quorum court meeting.
Thank you. Further discussion? Public comments on item number 10.1? Seeing none, I have a motion to pass to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by Justice Lyons, a second by Justice Dean. All those in favor? Those opposed? Item number 10.1 will move to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation. Item number 11, an ordinance amending the JDC budget for 2024. Director Tinsley, would you like to come up and kind of introduce this and give an overview of what you're trying to change here, sir?
Good evening once again. So we found that our regular JDC staff makes $20.90, and our 2 supervisor positions, they make $20.54. Well, they're held to a higher standard, and they have to report directly to me and the other supervisors. And so to kind of retain those supervisors, we would like to pay them a little bit more than what the JDC staff makes, just because they're held to a higher standard. And there's no new money. We're pulling money from a different line item to correct this issue. And so I would just ask if we could pass this to the quorum court at this time.
Thank you, sir. Justice Coger?
Motion to pass to the full quorum court with the due pass recommendation.
I have a motion to pass to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by Justice Koger. I heard second by Justice Lyons. Are there any further? Justice Lyons, do you have?
Yeah.
Okay. Justice Lemming?
I thought you hollered at Justice Lyons first. Oh, okay.
Did you have any more comments? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought he was saying he just seconded the motion. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What line items did you get this money from? I mean,
We're
did you
taking
just
it out
pull
of
it
our-
out of the hat?
No, sir. We're taking out of our food budget. I think we had it set for 75,000, so I think we're taking like $4,000 out of our food budget to compensate our two supervisors at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any further discussion? Public comments on item 11.1. Seeing none, we're going to take it up. I have a motion to pass to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by Justice Koger, second by Justice Lyons. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Item number 11 will move to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation. Thank you, Director Tinsley, for all your hard work, and please thank your team for all their hard work.
Well, we appreciate you all very much. Thank you.
Great. Item number 12, an ordinance amending the IT budget for 2024. Director Baird, would you like to come up and introduce this and give us some background on this change, sir? You have to hit the button on the right. Thank you. Well, here you go.
I don't get here up very much, so I can't operate the stuff. We're very excited to bring this to you. We're looking to get a second network analyst in order to shore up our security posture and our network architecture. So we are getting a brand new network system this year. We're no longer going to be using our, what we call a Metro E. We're going to go design our own SD-WAN. So it's going to be a little bit more hands-on. It's going to be a lot of security concerns that we're going to be dealing with. And we're only one deep, and you don't want to be one deep in security. So that's why we're bringing this for you today.
Questions for Justice, or not Justice, questions for Director Baird? Justice Lyons?
So the ordinance indicates that you are requesting to take $85,502.42 from the general fund for this. But your justification letter indicates that there was no additional supplementary funds for the IT budget required. What's the correct information?
They're both correct. When the previous comptroller put in our budget, we had made 2 moves. We had 2 additional positions that we added, and we took away 2 positions. But he left all the money in the budget. And so we're oversubscribed this year in IT. And so that money will go back into the general fund on the quarterly personnel scrape. So we're going to end up giving more money back than we have in the budget, but it's going to be taken out of the general fund right now.
Okay. Shouldn't we have both ordinances that go together?
That's up to your pleasure, but we can definitely have one of those drafted up. I mean, you want a de-appropriating one?
I think if that's what we're doing, we should propose as a full picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Versus piecing it up and something getting lost. So I think that we should table this until next month and get the both ordinances to come together.
Well, this would actually normally happen in the normal course of business. They would see that those 2 positions have been eliminated. They'll automatically transfer it into the general fund. So it's going to be automatic.
We don't. So any movement of funds, I thought, required ordinances.
It does. What he's saying is you guys will pass a sweep ordinance every quarter.
Okay.
So that's what his assumption was. That's what our assumption was, that we would just sweep that every quarter. Now, if it's to your request and your purview, we can definitely bring a de-appropriation ordinance. But I would think that to just table this a month would be pretty punitive. We could bring the de-appropriation ordinance next month.
Okay.
To let him go ahead and start the hiring process and get this going.
Okay. Make a motion to pass it to full quorum court to do.
Justice Ecke, he can. Justice Ecke,
Thank
were
you,
you
Judge.
finished, Justice Lyons?
Colleagues, I'm very concerned about this process. Having served on this court for many years, I've seen the proper process. Not having a personnel committee, not having a personnel committee meeting to fully vet this, to understand where all of this money is coming from, how it's being swept. I understand we have quarterly sweeps. But I would like to just raise a red flag in my mind and say there's something that is not procedurally correct. And if we had a personnel committee meeting with a chairman who goes to JSAP and has this information and is able to share the information, have the discussion with the other JPs as we have done in the past, we would have our questions answered, or my questions answered. I cannot support this because I'm not fully understanding the process of how this is just going to get passed through. I recommend that this not be on the consent agenda and that we have more discussion regarding the processes and the procedures that are legally correct according to our powers and our Constitution. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
You, ladies and gentlemen, are the Personnel Committee. This is the Personnel Committee. And that's why we did this, if we remember back, is that we are all empowered on the Personnel Committee now.
I disagree.
Justice Coger?
Thank you, Judge. Okay, I agree with what J.P. Oki said, but I wanted to ask a question about this. First of all, I want to say, everyone in your office is so nice, so kind, and so friendly, and so helpful. I've been there several times. They've always fixed whatever problem I had. I even got a weird email this week from Judge Deakins, which turned out it wasn't really from Judge Deakins, but it was complimenting me on how much he admired me and wanting to have a special confidential meeting. And so as soon as the IT guy saw that, we were like, ooh, that's fake. That's fake. But okay, anyway, but so back to your ordinance. Will this endanger any existing jobs? I forget the term you used a while ago when you were talking about jobs that were no longer. I mean, I just want to make sure this won't endanger any of the existing jobs that are there.
No, those positions were, 2 were created, 2 were eliminated, and the people moved over to the created one, so it's a zero-sum game. This is 1 additional position.
And how will this analyst, network analyst, how are his qualifications different than your qualifications?
Than mine?
Yes.
I administered the department. This individual is a network specialist. They have special skill sets in blocking, defending, and protecting the network, and also in network design, making sure that all the connections from the desktops to the switch closets to our main servers are all good. So that's not what I do.
That's not what you do. Okay.
That is not what I do.
So this person that you would hire, would he have special training in the new system that you were talking about? I don't remember the name of it.
That would be a preference when we got out to the open market. So we're trying to find somebody with Cisco experience. So there are a lot of them because it's one of the major suppliers of networks.
Is there any way that anyone in our department, IT department now, could be trained for that position?
That used to be a past practice, and I don't think it served the county well. I think that we need to find the best and the brightest whether they're in the department or in the open market. I don't believe that anybody at this level for this, what I'm looking for, has those current skills. We used to do what I call hat passing. Those times are done. We're getting specialists now who drill down and become experts in their field.
Okay, and you, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the JSAP meeting, didn't you say this would be like a 24/7 position?
All the IT positions are.
Okay.
It's the nature. It depends on what's going down, who gets called.
Okay. And you mentioned that hackers are likely to break or to start like 10 p.m. on a Friday night. Didn't you say that in JSAP?
I did.
So is that still your, have we had that happen again since back in December?
We are constantly under attack, constantly. It's just by varying degrees. We plug a hole, they start digging another tunnel.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's all I had.
Justice Simons?
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to make some comments, not so much questions, but I'll second what our director is saying. In commercial and municipality insurance, cyber is one of the fastest growing, if not the leading cause of claims. So we're seeing these hackers and these criminals become more and more bold. They're getting better at their craft, unfortunately. And so with Washington County growing, we need to maintain the standard of excellence that we've established in the past. Obviously, we've recently been a victim to cyber attacks. And so I know it's $85,000, but this is an investment of pennies to save dollars. Because when you start talking about ransom for cyber attacks, you're talking about hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in consequential financial impact to the county. So an $85,000 investment toward a professional who is, you know, certified and credentialed and experienced in blocking this type of attack is absolutely a good investment when the flip side of that is hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. So.
Justice Lemming?
Is there any way, Judge, that we can get ordinances ready for the quorum court? Could you do that?
The appropriation ordinance?
The ordinances for what Mr. Lyons was wanting for this.
Yeah, we could have that.
I know we got to, I think some of us feel like there's a trust issue. And I know I've been told in the past we have to trust them, the leaders. And we got new leaders, so let's trust them until they do us wrong. But I think if we had ordinances like we wanted it, I think it'd be all right.
I have no issue having that drafted.
Okay.
And we could add it at the next meeting if that's what makes you comfortable.
Thank you.
And I would consider that a favor so that we could go ahead and move on with this tonight so that we could start this hiring process. I know Director Baird's pretty concerned about it.
That's kind of what I was thinking, if we could move on with that.
Absolutely. Justice Rio Stafford?
Thank you, Judge. I just wanted to, back up what some of my colleagues are saying that, I think that with our county security, local governments is becoming a huge issue nationwide. We've seen hacking attacks, constantly in the news around the nation, and I think time is of the essence with this position. Replacing a network is no easy task, and it's not going to be quick, I assume, or easy. And it's a very specialized skill. The attacks are becoming so sophisticated that that cybersecurity is becoming a very specialized field that takes, to get a good person in there takes, years of training, and not only training but also experience as well. Experience with having done this before, knowing what they're doing. I support those initiatives, and we've even seen with some of our, I've talked, I run a digital marketing agency, and I've seen with some of our clients talk about, with their cyber insurance rates not only going up, but them being concerned about being dropped by their insurance companies because the standards with the cyber insurance are getting higher and higher, and they need to meet a higher bar. So I think it sounds like it's something that's definitely necessary for us to stay ahead of the curve and prevent problems before they happen. So I definitely support this. I also wanted to second of giving a shout out to the folks at the IT help desk because after things got locked down, we increased our security back in December. Some of us here on the quorum court, because we are outside the building, had some issues, getting into our email again. And the folks at the IT help desk couldn't have been better. Whatever we're paying them, we probably aren't paying them enough because they're.
I'll take that forward.
Okay. And especially one of the main guys who helped me was Sam. I'll give him a shout out. He is actually a refugee from Venezuela, and he and his family, and we're happy to have him here helping us. So, thanks.
Justice Lyons?
Thank you, Judge. I want to level set, because I've heard a lot from my colleagues about cybersecurity, et cetera, and I agree with them. I think it's something we need to look at. But this is for a network administrator. In my 20-plus years of working in the information technology industry, a network administrator is not a cybersecurity expert. You don't look for that. You're looking, it sounds to me like, based on your justification, you're going to modify the networking that we use to connect all of our buildings, et cetera, build it up ourselves. And that's really what you're looking for a network administrator to do is knowledge in the network, put that together in a secure manner. But they're not a cyber, normally, unless they have an additional degree in that area, they're normally not normally a cybersecurity expert as well. Is that correct in this position, or am I misunderstanding?
I would say that you're about at the 70% level as being correct, but this person will be responsible for firewalls and other security measures to protect the county. That's part and parcel of constructing a network.
No, agreed, yep.
But do we have a CISO? Probably couldn't afford one. And then the expertise level on that, you're looking at $250,000 to get a good one. So we'll do what we can as far as protecting our network to become more insurable as far as cyber insurance.
No, I agree. I mean, the firewalls, they do security for the network, but it's different areas. I just want to make sure we're all understanding that. But that brings up another question. Where are we at? I know you just came in less than a year. I don't remember how long you've been here. I apologize.
377 days.
Okay. Where are we looking at within IT, especially with the hack we experienced this last several months? Of what does the IT department need to look at? What is that expertise? To your point, cybersecurity you'd think, but they're expensive to have, right? So.
That's true. If we wanted to go into greater detail later, I can tell you the things that we're working on. It's probably not best in a public forum to go
well, we don't have to do it here, but I guess if we could just get the information provided to us would be fine, somehow.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Justice Simons?
Thank you, Chair. I make a motion we pass this on to the full quorum court with the due pass recommendation.
I have a motion to pass to the full quorum court with the due pass recommendation by Justice Simons, a second by Justice Dean. Justice Ricker?
The only question I had, you said that you had over budget in salaries, I guess. Do you know the number of that the sweep is going to take? Is it over this 85,000 amount or less than?
Way over.
How much over, do you know?
So we're budgeted for 719, we require 781. So add 85 to that. We're probably looking at 50,000, 60,000, somewhere in there, to the plus side into the general fund.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other discussion or questions for Director Baird? Any public comments on item number 12.1? Seeing none, we'll take it up. I have a motion to pass item number 12 to the full quorum court with the due pass recommendation by Justice Simons, a second by Justice Dean. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Item number 12 will move to the full quorum court with the due pass recommendation. Item number 13. An ordinance amending the purchasing budget for 2024. If you guys all recall, one of the big things that we did last year with our budget was regrade all of our positions to what we thought was the appropriate grade to get us a great starting point so we can continue to work on our compensation. Our purchasing director did receive a regrade, but that amount was overlooked in the budget. And so this is an ordinance to bring her up to that new grade like her colleagues were brought up to into the budget process. Are there any questions? Justice Ecke?
So you're asking for, thank you, Judge, $7,895.13, correct?
That is correct.
Can that amount be moved around from another budget line item within that? budget.
The problem with that is that purchasing department budget's pretty lean. There's not a whole lot of, it's a one-person department, so it's basically that one person's salary and some supplies.
And do we know how much the supply budget item, line item is?
I was talking in generalities. I don't know what the exact supplies line item is. I will let you know that
Ouch.
our messaging to all of our directors is to find this money if at all possible within the current budget. I know that these are finite. I know that you guys are trying to help us be fiscally conservative, and that's what we're trying to do in this.
My concern is that we're supposed to be holding the line because our reserves were, unappropriated reserves were at an all-time low. And I was very, very concerned about maneuvers like this to continually take from unappropriated reserves. At one time, we all resolved that we're just going to have to say no until the next budget cycle. And yet all of these requests are coming in. I think we need to find this money somewhere. If we have a whole lot of money laying around in IT that was over budgeted, then how much of that is going to come back in, and will it offset this? And I'd like to know that before we pass anything. So I'll support this, but I'm not going to, I request that we not put this on the consent agenda, so that way we can get further evidence that our unappropriated reserves are not going to be drained and taxed by ordinances like this over and over and over throughout the year, and then we are faced with hard decisions because our unappropriated reserves is below any standard that we have set. I don't want to go through that. So
Well, there's
I'll
a big
support
assumption
this.
being made there that we don't agree with you that that's important, and we do. That's what I'm trying to tell you. If we
I didn't
de-appropriate
understand
the
this.
money from the IT budget with the ordinances that Justice Lyons has created, we'll still be do the good. But this is a
But I'd
this
like
is a
to
concept.
see it. I'd like to see it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I want to know what those figures are, and I don't think that's a hard ask because we are the fiduciary body and we're responsible for this. And I think we're being reckless and irresponsible by not knowing what this is.
Yeah.
I support what you're doing. I support IT. I support personnel. If anybody in the county knows, I support the employees and worked hard for them all these years. But I want to see the numbers, and that's my request. Okay? Can we see the numbers?
Well, I mean, I can't show you the numbers right now because we
Well,
were just requested to do
said-
the ordinance.
Can we have it before quorum court is what I said. I'll support this, but not on the consent agenda, so that way we can see the numbers before we pass it. That's what I was requesting.
We can very easily do
So,
that.
thank you.
And this is the other thing I think I appreciate more now in this seat than I did when you guys' seats, and I just want you to hear me for a minute. I understand that we got to be fiscally conservative, and I understand it's frustrating that we're at the March meeting and we're having to make tweaks to the budget, but there's two things that I want you to hear about that. This is a huge county. It's very dynamic. It's got a lot going on. And the other thing that I've come to appreciate after sitting in this chair is, for us, those budgets are 9 months old because we submitted those back last June to go through the budgetary process. So I would like the grace to say whether or not you agree with some of these tweaks. In our minds, they're not 3 months old. In our minds, they're 9 months old as we continued to work through the latter part of last year and innovate in our departments. And so that's why some of these are coming to you guys now. So, Justice Dennis?
Thank you, Judge. And I'm going to sound like an echo, perhaps, on this, but I'm seeing a lot of spending. We didn't have a lot of notification about all of this, and we didn't have a chance to say, well, what's this about and what's this about? I'm sitting here thinking, I feel like I'm the only one here around the horseshoe that doesn't know what's going on, but it seems like a lot of spending, but I'm hearing everything's flushing out and equalizing out. I want to hear that again from someone saying, oh, we're only spending this amount of money. It looks like we're spending a whole lot, but we're not, because it's coming a little bit from here and a little bit from there, but I don't see it.
but I feel like that we're spending a lot of money all of a sudden, and we were gonna be held accountable. You said, hold us accountable, and don't let us, we don't have the flexibility to run over budget this year. And, you know, it was 9-month-old budget, and I understand that because, my gracious, I can't keep up with every month I'm spending more money for the same thing. It's unbelievable what's happening on increases of prices. I know the county's paying increases as well. But at the same time, we were gonna be physically responsible and not spend. We weren't gonna do this. We were supposed to have had it done.
Well, I hope you can also respect that we have a certain threshold that we have to meet internally before we bring it to you guys. So, I mean, if the assumption is this is like footloose and fancy free here to bring this individual up to what we think is fair and equitable to the rest of the county.
I want to make that, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm walking on you, go ahead.
Well, this and any of these other examples on this agenda this evening, I mean, if there's any assumption that we haven't internally talked about this and done everything we can, I think that's a false assumption.
Well, thank you. And of course, never admit that you don't know. I just don't know what's happening all of a sudden. I thought I did, and I see all this, and I think, well, I didn't even know what's coming up. I might have missed something, but I thought we didn't get this until yesterday or today.
Well, that's a different story that we've addressed internally also, and I want you guys to be comfortable with that. The fact that the agenda did not come out until yesterday.
Yes.
Yep, that's an issue that I can guarantee you I've addressed. Because
Okay.
I fully respect and understand that you guys need to see that agenda and you need to see the items that go along with it.
Well, please understand, I'm sitting here and I haven't said very many ayes because I'm not sure what I'm voting for. Or that I want to spend extra money. If it's not extra money, I'm all for it because I hear them talk about a sweep. My assumption is they mean that we had more money budgeted in than what we spent or we're going to spend. We had extra money budgeted in and just turned around and put it over here on this position. That doesn't sound like good bookkeeping. It doesn't seem like accountability. If someone were to ask me at coffee tomorrow, explain this to me, I couldn't. And I don't like that feeling. And it's a feeling more than it is a fact. But and I also, while I've got the floor, because we don't get the floor very often, I thought we were going to. Well, I resent that, John, the body language.
Justice Dennis, you're supposed to direct your comments to me. Guys, let's not get cross with each other.
Well, I'll tell you where I'm going with this. I thought we were in a new year, and every new year, when I've been on court, we've reestablished, we didn't reestablish, we established what we were going to do and what committees we were going to be. We skipped that this year.
No, you're incorrect about that.
Okay.
That's every other year at the open of a new quorum court term.
So it's every 2 years?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I was sick that night. I was standing out in the hallway, coughing my head off, and I've not liked it ever since. So I throw that out on top of the table too for everybody to understand. But I want to go along with everything, but at the same time, we weren't going to spend. We weren't going to spend, and now we're spending like crazy. So, thank you.
Justice Lyons?
Thank you, Judge. I'm going to echo some of the things, but I'm going to go back all the way back to December. You know, as a colleague said, our reserve funds is a lot less than what we want. And we said, or I said in December, that we need to make sure the directors and the elected officials have what they need in the budget. Because these types of changes that we did last year, when I first started on this quorum court, first 3 months, we kept upping because, oh, I forgot, I made a mistake, I did what, okay? Things change, and that's what the reserve's for. The one change I've seen tonight is the one from the IT department. We've decided to make a change that we believe will make our information technology environment more secure, which requires additional personnel. That's a change in plan from when we did the budget, whether it's 3 months ago or 9 months ago. I really don't care. So that is something that we probably should consider. Thank goodness we did, it was considered in the budget, and we have some that will take care of it. So, and I think that's the big thing. When I look at this one, this is another one of those we experienced when I first started. It's not a change. This regrading was done last year, and all the other regrading costs were put into the budget. Okay, so that's just my point of view when I look at this. But I think, based on what was said here, and I appreciate the colleague pushing to get the sweep ordinance into the quorum court, is I think what I believe I'm hearing, and what I think the colleagues I'm hearing talk about it is, 12 and 13, we don't want on the consent agenda. We want to debate it. If it comes to the quorum court and we don't have the sweep ordinance that brings it back in, then I think we're going to want to table it until we do. That way we see everything coming together from a bookkeeping standpoint. Just my opinion. You disagree, that's fine. That's what I'm hearing, but that's what's in my head when I come to the quorum court on that Thursday coming up. So, thank you.
I just want to make this part clear, just so you guys aren't punishing this employee. This employee was not responsible for putting that salary into the budget. That was an error by another department. And so that, yes, this is an error. Essentially, this is an error. And as much as I like to be perfect and limit that, there are humans and there's a lot going on. So, Justice Lyons, or I'm sorry, Simon.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to remind my colleagues that we're doing exactly what we said we were going to do. When we had the budget conversation all those months ago, we discussed not wanting to put ourselves in a position where committee to committee, quorum court to quorum court, we're nickeling and diming our unappropriated reserves. We talked about quarterly going over these position changes and requests and things that were forgotten or mistakes or retitles. We talked about doing that on a quarterly basis. This is the first quarter. So it's not that we just happen to have 4 or 5 things that happenstance fell on tonight's agenda. This is the quarterly opportunity for our directors and our departments to come with these changes. In 3 more months, we're going to have another one. So it's not a coincidence. We're doing exactly what we talked about during the budget controls and the budget conversation.
Justice Washington?
Thank you, Judge Deakins. Is there a motion on the floor?
There is not.
I move that this ordinance be passed to the quorum court with a due pass recommendation.
I have a motion to pass to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by Justice Washington, second by Justice Pond. Any further discussion? Any public comments? Seeing none, we'll take up the question. I have a motion to pass item number 13 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by Justice Washington, second by Justice Pond. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Item number 13 will move to the full quorum court. Item number 14, an ordinance amending the jail budget for 2024. Would somebody like to share from the Sheriff's Office like to speak to this?
Good evening, Judge and members of the quorum court. This is an ordinance that we're requesting to change a position that's already funded within the jail budget that's been unfilled for more than a year and recreate that position into a help desk position, which is something for our IT. We are becoming more and more digital. We have more and more software packages that we're utilizing. We've added more cameras within the jail, and what we've found is our IT director at the Sheriff's Office is doing some of these mundane tasks that takes him away from some of the important tasks that we need him to do. So we'd like to hire a person to kind of help be that boots on the ground guy. The ordinance indicates that we need $3,074 out of the unappropriated reserves of the jail fund, but that's not entirely accurate. That figure was for the first of the year. If this was filled for the entire year, obviously we're already 3 months into the year, and or 2.5 months, and so we won't need any of that money that's listed out in Article 2 to fill this position. So it won't be any money needed out of the unappropriated jail fund, unappropriated reserves in the jail fund. It'll just be deleting a DFC corporal position and replacing it with a help desk manager position, which has been graded at a grade 15.
Justice Lyons?
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Sheriff. So if I understand correctly, this is a position that's budgeted unfilled, and based on your justification, Laser, is budgeted for almost 52,000 to 51,967. Correct?
Correct.
You have, because of wanting to put this position in place to provide change services, different services than what that position actually would need for a full year, 54,872. So with the three being 3 months starting, you're really looking at, you're still down in your budget of 51,900, I think is what you just said. Am I?
That's way, yes, yes, sir.
So I assume the Article 2 will be adjusted for the quorum court?
That could be something that you could amend right now, if you wanted to make a motion to amend to remove Article 2.
I think, based on what I've heard, I think we need to amend it to the appropriate number of no additional funds from the jail fund, 3017 will be required. And I don't know if we can come up with those numbers on the fly, but.
Sheriff, were you saying that no money was needed?
No money is going to be, no additional money is going to be
Zero.
needed. In fact, it will probably be
Be some
advantage
going
to the
back
jail fund.
because of
More will go back in.
Because you're only doing 10 months versus 12 months.
Right, correct.
So I would,
So do we just
And
take that
probably-
2 out altogether?
Yeah.
I would think the appropriate motion would be to remove Article 2.
Okay, so I make a
strike
motion to
Article 2.
remove Article 2 from this ordinance.
I have a motion to strike Article 2, motion to amend to strike Article 2 by Justice Lyons. I think I heard second by Justice Lemming. Is that correct, Justice Lemming? Okay. Any comments or discussion on the amendment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The ordinance has been amended. Justice Lyons?
With that amendment, sorry, make a motion that we pass the amended ordinance onto the full quorum court for its due pass recommendation.
I have a motion to pass to the full quorum court as amended with a due pass recommendation by Justice Lyons and a second by Justice Dean. Any further discussion? Public comments on item number 14. Seeing none, we'll take up the question. I have a motion to pass item number 14 as amended to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by Justice Lyons, a second by Justice Dean. All those in favor? Those opposed? Item number 14 will move to the full quorum court. Item number 15, an ordinance amending the road budget for 2024. We have been reviewing some of our positions in the road department. We would like to make these changes. This one does not have any money associated with it. Eventually, we actually believe that this will return money to the general funds. But what this does is remove 3 positions from the budget and creates two new positions with upgraded job titles. Motions or discussion? Justice Lemming?
When you say you're gonna take away 3, which one lady's done been fired, is that next lady gonna be fired too?
One position's unfilled. One was always unfilled. One is currently unfilled due to the staffing you're talking about. I believe one is filled, but will transfer to the new job description with no change in compensation.
So she's gonna be one of your new job change. You're gonna have 2, is that correct?
That's two new job descriptions.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
but she is gonna fill one of them.
The lady who's currently here.
Yeah,
Yes,
Grace.
sir.
I think
No.
her name's Grace.
Her name's Miss Regina. She
Okay,
works
that's
our
right.
phones
That's
for us.
correct, I'm sorry. So she's gonna go to one position, so then you're gonna move somebody to another position or hire somebody in?
We'll have one position vacant that we'll hire somebody in.
Okay. I wanna talk a little bit about the employee that was terminated. You know, I've always heard that everybody really loves the county employees and thinks a lot about them and all this, but whenever you walk in the office and you terminate a lady that's been there 15 years for no reasons, I mean, for reasons, but for never been wrote up, never been any trouble for 15 years, I just have a hard time with that.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, if she got fired because she had a bad attitude, kind of like was wrote up on her paperwork, well, can't we adjust her attitudes? Maybe give them 3 strikes and you're out? I mean, I'd rather talk to our employees, especially ones that's been here 15 years, never give trouble, then just throw them out the door.
We're on the same page. I think, once again, you're making a lot of assumptions there that are probably untrue. I think the most difficult thing I've ever had to do is dismiss an employee, and I tell my team that all the time, but there are times where it gets to that, and I'm not going to get into the intricacies of personnel changes like that.
Well, are we, time will tell what'll happen, but I hope that there's not a buddy come in, and I hope there's not another family member come in. I hope the decision on the new employee is a good employee, and I hope that it's not a buddy deal and a family deal. Thank you.
I certainly am not here to let that happen, Justice Lemmy. Justice Lyons.
I thought I had seen the justification letter for this, but I can't seem to find it, Mr. Allen. Am I missing it in what you sent us? That's fine. If I am, let me know. If not, if we could get that sent over, please. I thought I saw it this afternoon and read it, honestly, but I can't find it in the email now. So again, it may just be me. I'd like to go back through the justification letter. And again, I think it's a little off topic, but I'm a little concerned with what I heard my colleague talk about. Because my experience in working as a supervisor in the commercial industries, there is a set procedure that must be followed if you're going to terminate an employee. And based on what I heard, and I don't know, again, I haven't been through there, it'd be nice to understand what that process is. But it's nowhere near what's required by anybody I've ever worked for to go through. Of the process you go through, the amount of time you give them, the type of write-ups you need to actually do it, all right? And I'm hoping we have that within the county. Again, I don't know, I'm asking. But if we don't, I think we need to think about putting it in place.
I'm very comfortable with our processes.
Okay.
I'm very comfortable with what transpired here and what resulted here. Once again, I think we're making some assumptions before we have the facts. We don't even have a motion for this. Does anybody have a motion on this item? Justice Washington?
Thank you, Judge. I move, excuse me, that this ordinance move to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation.
I have a motion to pass to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation. I have a second by Justice Simons. Justice Hires?
Thank you, Judge. I just looked at the email and there is no justification letter. Can we get that before next week?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Mr. Allen, will you take note of that and we can get that sent over? Well, if you've had a week like I've had, it's been a long week already. Any other discussion or questions? Any public comments on item number 15? Seeing none, I'm going to take it up. We have a motion to pass to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by Justice Washington, a second by Justice Simons. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Item number 15 will move to the full quorum court. Mr. Allen, will you please call a roll on that? This will be to pass item number 15 to the full quorum court.
Justice Wilson.
Pass to the full quorum court on the due pass recommendation, or just to the quorum court period?
To the quorum court period.
Justice Wilson. Justice Simons. Justice Lyons. Justice Ecke. Justice Dean. Justice Washington. Justice Coger. Justice Dennis. Justice Hires. Justice Rio Stafford. Justice Lemming. Justice Ricker. Justice Pond. Justice Taylor.
Item 15 moves to the full quorum court. Just a second. Justice Lyons?
I want to make a motion for the consent agenda, but do you want to, you have a clarification of something we did before I do that?
I want to make I'm not sure if this is a point of clarification or a point of order, but since the sheriff is here now, could he come up and answer my questions about the jail that I had earlier?
No.
Why?
Because it's that, we've moved on from that, from the agenda.
But there's no one from the public here, Judge, and so
I understand that, but we have to follow the agenda.
we're building a $20 million jail expansion.
Justice Koger, I'm not debating the fact of the importance of the questions. I'm debating the fact that we have to stick to the agenda.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we amend the agenda.
You have to do that at the front end of the meeting.
Okay, well, I tried.
Justice Lyons?
Make a motion, we have a consent agenda with items 9, 10, 11, and 14. I think I got those right on it.
I have a motion by Justice Lyons to move items 9, 10, 11, and 14. Was that right? 9, 10, 11, and 14 to the consent agenda. I have a second by Justice Hires. All those in favor? Those opposed? Did you have dissent? None of those will move to the consent agenda. Next item up is the public comments. Do we have any public comments this evening?
Thank you, Judge. It took me a long time to find the budget on Director Baird's phone, but relative to item 13, the purchasing director item, that lady's been doing 2 jobs for a year or 14 months. We have 2 jobs budgeted in the 2024 budget. So the money's there. It's to take care of this raise, and we don't have an employee that deserves it more than she does.
Thank you, Chief. Additional public comments?